The rain fell relentlessly that night, drumming against the windows like the heartbeat of a restless sky. Thunder rumbled in the distance, and the old house creaked softly as the wind pressed against it. Inside, the warmth of the fireplace cast golden shadows across the living room where Shadow lay curled. His soft breathing, the only sound besides the storm. Emma was asleep upstairs, her soft toy clutched in her arms, with Shadow's collar beside her bed like a treasured talisman. She had insisted on keeping it close even when Shadow wasn't by her side, as if the dog's presence gave her the security that her parents no longer could. Downstairs, Lily sat alone on the couch, a glass of red wine cradled between her fingers, her thoughts heavy and tangled. The house felt different, warmer, quieter, but beneath it all, an uneasy current still ran through her veins. The guilt pressed hard. The secret she carried burned just beneath her skin. Her phone lay on the coffee table, Michael's name glowing. On the screen from an unread message. She hadn't replied in days, but he wasn't giving up. He never had. Her heart squeezed painfully. She closed her eyes, the memory of his touch haunting her, the comfort of being wanted, of being seen. Something she hadn't felt in so long. The front door creaked. Daniel stepped inside. Soaked from the rain, his hair slicked back, his breath visible in the cold air. Lily looked up sharply, her heart skipping. He wasn't supposed to be home this early. For a long moment, neither of them spoke. He set his keys down, his eyes meeting hers, and in the silence between them, something fragile and old stirred. Without the shouting, without the bitterness, without the weight of past mistakes, it was just two people tired, bruised by life, sharing the same space. "Didn't expect you," Lily said softly, her voice uncertain. Daniel shrugged, rubbing the back of his neck. "Didn't want to be at the office." There was no anger in his tone, no coldness, just exhaustion, just honesty. He hesitated before sitting across from her, his eyes flickering to the glass of wine, to the way her hair fell loose over her shoulders. For the first time in what felt like forever, he truly looked at her, not as the woman who disappointed him, not as the partner who drifted too far, but as the woman he once couldn't breathe. Without doubt, the conversation started carefully. Small words, gentle steps. Then came laughter, hesitant, uncertain but real. Shared memories, their first apartment, their honeymoon, the night Emma was born. Little pieces of who they used to be, stitched together in broken sentences and soft smiles. Lily felt something in her chest ache. She had missed this version of him. The man who made her laugh, the man who saw her. The clock ticked softly. The wine made her feel warmer, braver. When Daniel shifted closer, she didn't pull away. His hand brushed against hers, tentative, searching. Their eyes met. The kiss was soft, barely there at first, familiar yet distant. It was like breathing life into a flame long thought extinguished. And for a moment, Lily let herself fall, but then her phone buzzed again. The sharp vibration cut through the stillness like a knife. Michael. The screen glowed, and Daniel pulled back just enough to see the name. His eyes darkened, confusion giving way to realization. The warmth drained from his face, replaced by something far colder, something broken. "Who is Michael?" he asked quietly, though his voice trembled. With restrained hurt, Lily's breath caught, her heart pounded. She fumbled for words, her mind racing. But there was no easy lie, no simple explanation. "It's not what you think," she whispered, even though some part of her knew that it was exactly what he thought. Daniel stood abruptly, running a hand through his wet hair, stepping back as if the space between them was now dangerous, toxic. Shadow, sensing the tension, lifted his head, ears pricking, a soft whine escaping him. "Tell me," Daniel said again, more firmly this time. His eyes, so tired, so full of unspoken pain, searched hers for the truth. But Lily stayed silent. The kiss they had shared just Moments before, the fragile hope of something mending crumbled under the weight of her hesitation. The room filled with the sound of the storm outside, the ticking clock, the brittle silence of two people standing on the edge of collapse. Shadow whined again, rising unsteadily to his feet, his eyes flicking between them, sensing the shattering that had begun. Upstairs, Emma slept on, dreaming her innocent dreams, unaware that downstairs, the fragile threads of her family were beginning to unravel once more. The secrets were no longer safe. The lies were no longer buried, and nothing would ever be the same again. Shadow survived, but just barely. His recovery was slow, painful, and filled with quiet moments of both heartbreak and healing. Day after day, Emma sat by his side, her small hands stroking his fur gently as his golden brown eyes still tinged. With sadness followed her every movement. Something in the house began to change. Lily watched, often from the doorway, as her daughter whispered stories to the dog. Sometimes she smiled, sometimes she cried. The girl who had once withdrawn into herself, her heart dimmed by the constant tension between her parents, was beginning to glow again faintly, softly, like the first fragile light of dawn after a long night. Daniel noticed too. In those quiet days, when the weight of life seemed to pause around them, he found himself drawn into Emma's little world. He sat on the floor beside her, ran his fingers through Shadow's fur, and for the first time in what felt like forever, he felt present for a while. It felt like the dog was not only healing physically, but somehow stitching something broken in all of them. But love, true love, rarely heals without revealing its scars. Lily carried one such scar deep inside. She tried to ignore it, bury it under the soft warmth of family moments, but it refused to fade. Michael Dodd, he had been part of her past, a man from another lifetime, someone who had once held her heart before Daniel. A random message on social media, a simple, "How have you been?" had unraveled something inside her that she didn't even realize was still fragile. Had started harmlessly chats about old memories, laughter over silly things from their teenage years. But soon, the messages turned deeper, intimate, confessional. She had met him for coffee once, telling herself it was just for closure, just for curiosity. But when he had brushed her hand, something dangerous had flickered in her chest, a part of herself she thought was gone. The woman who wanted to feel seen, desired, chosen. And so the secret took root. Meanwhile, Daniel nursed his own secret. Guilt, the late nights, the unexplained distance. It wasn't all work. Months ago, feeling rejected, angry, and hollow, he had slipped into a one-night mistake. A woman from his office. It meant nothing, he told himself. He had cut it off immediately. But the guilt clung to him like a second skin. He didn't know that Lily's growing distance wasn't just about his past sins. It was now entangled in her own. The only innocent soul in the house was Emma, and Shadow. Emma would sit on the porch, her arms around Shadow's neck, telling him about her dreams of wanting a world where her parents loved each other like before, of wanting the arguing to stop, of wanting everyone to be happy again. Shadow's eyes, wise beyond words, always looked back at her as if he understood every fragile wish. One golden evening, Daniel came home earlier than usual. Lily was in the kitchen, the late sunlight pouring in through the window, casting soft light on her face. For a moment, Daniel saw her the way he used to, the woman who had made him believe in forever. And for the first time in months, they talked. Really talked. The conversation was clumsy at first. Apologies hung between them, unspoken but heavy. "I miss us," Lily finally whispered, her voice breaking. Daniel's chest tightened. He swallowed the lump in his throat. "Me too." For a few moments, the past slipped away. They laughed quietly. softly like two people rediscovering something long forgotten. And in that fragile moment, when Daniel reached for her hand, Lily didn't pull away, but in her pocket, her phone buzzed. Michael. Her heart jolted. She ignored it, but she knew the line she was walking was razor thin. They sat together on the porch, watching Emma and Shadow play in the fading light, both of them aching for a return to the love they once shared. But neither of them spoke the whole truth. Neither of them confessed the betrayals they carried. The scars ran too deep. The secrets were too tangled. And yet, for that one evening, they allowed themselves to pretend, to believe. Shadow lay stretched out on the grass, his eyes half closed, as the gentle laughter of a family so broken yet still holding on drifted into the darkening sky. But love built on secrets is like glass, beautiful, fragile, and destined to shatter. And soon, everything they tried to rebuild would be tested in ways none of them could imagine. The day began like any other, with gray skies hanging low over the quiet countryside, the air thick with the scent of rain. Emma, a delicate 8-year-old with wide hazel eyes and a heart too big for her tiny frame, was sitting in the back seat of her parents' car, watching raindrops race down the window as her parents argued in the front. Lily and Daniel, once so deeply in love, had become strangers sharing the same space. The car felt heavy with the weight of things unsaid. Words that had once been sweet were now sharp, cold, and distant. For months they had lived like this side by side, but miles apart emotionally. Their daughter, too young to understand the complexities of adult hearts, felt the growing emptiness, the way love seemed to be slipping through their fingers like water. And then the world shifted. As they drove around a bend on the slick road, Emma gasped, her small hand slapping against the window. Stop the car. Please. At first, neither Lily nor Daniel reacted. They were too lost in their own anger. But Emma's voice, cracking with urgency, finally cut through the fog of resentment. Daniel slammed the brakes. The car screeched to a halt. There, barely visible in the pouring rain, lay a German shepherd. The dog was crumpled on the side of the road, soaked to the bone, blood staining its fur, his breathing shallow and labored. His golden brown eyes, filled with unbearable pain, met Emma's through the glass. Without waiting, Emma pushed the door open and ran to him, her shoes splashing in muddy puddles. Lily shouted after her, panic seizing her chest. But it was too late. Emma was already kneeling beside the dog, her tiny hands trembling as she touched his wet, broken body. Mommy, he's dying, she whispered through tears. Something inside Lily cracked. Without thinking, she joined her daughter in the rain, and even Daniel, despite the coldness that had settled into his heart, followed. Together, the three of them lifted the injured animal into the back seat, water and blood soaking the seats. But none of them cared. For the first time in months, they moved together, united by something simple yet profound, the shared desire to save a life. The drive to the nearest animal clinic was frantic. Emma held the dog's head in her lap, whispering softly to him, "Stay with me. You're going to be okay," she murmured over and over, her tears falling onto his fur. At the clinic, the vet took one look at the dog and shook his head. "It's bad. Internal injuries. I'm not sure if he'll survive the night," but Emma wouldn't let go. "Please, please save him." Maybe it was the way she said it, or the sheer desperation in her eyes, but the vet promised to try. The family sat together in the small waiting room, drenched and shivering. For the first time in ages, Lily and Daniel found themselves side by side, their hands brushing occasionally, silent words passing between them. Neither spoke of their recent fights, the emotional distance, or the quiet bitterness that had settled like dust over their marriage. For those hours, all that existed was their daughter's tear-streaked face and the fragile life of a dying animal. When the vet finally came out, The news was a cautious sliver of hope. The dog had made it through surgery. He was weak but alive. Emma clutched her mother's hand so tightly it hurt. "Can we keep him?" she whispered. Daniel, without hesitation, nodded. "We can keep him." They named him Shadow because, as Emma said, he looked like a shadow when she first saw him lying there, broken and still. In the days that followed, Shadow's presence seemed to bring something back into their home. Emma lit up with joy, her laughter returning. The dog, despite his injuries, began to heal slowly, carefully, with the same stubborn determination that seemed to be reflected in Emma's eyes. But there was something else, too. Lily and Daniel, though still burdened by unspoken hurts, began to share moments again, a look, a smile, a memory. Neither of them knew it yet, but Shadow wasn't just saving Emma's heart. He was unknowingly becoming the fragile thread that would either mend their family or pull it apart completely, because beneath the surface, secrets still simmered. Lies still lingered. And one day, those buried truths would come crashing to the surface, leaving none of their hearts untouched.